don't think we can hear your audio. You might have to share the window specifically.
Let me do that because it's the. There we go. Let's do that one. Let's see. Can you guys hear the audio now?
Yeah.
Very soft, right?
Very soft. Okay, to hell with that. Everyone's going, what the hell's going on now anyway? So what that ad does is just whatever's comfortable. Guy gets a glass of Southern Comfort as he walks over the beach, and then he's wearing that atrocious outfit. And that's about it, because he's comfortable. But that's also, as we go on a bit later, you'll see how that relates to what we're going to talk about when we go into the different kinds of marketing that you get, because I'm familiar with two types. There's brand marketing and lead generation marketing, or a very advertising, salesy type of marketing, which is where I'm mostly from. I've been doing advertising for about 5, 6-ish years now. So all those ads that you skip the moment you can on YouTube or Facebook, or basically I'm the reason you install AdBlock. So if ever AdBlock wants to incentivize me, I'd be happy to make more ads so that they can get more installations. So furthermore than that, when you think about marketing, it's a good idea to think about everything you do is an advert of sorts. So when you have your first interaction with someone, when you have your portfolio being presented to an art director, or when you have your art portfolio being presented to a potential new client, everything during that interaction can be seen as an advert of sorts. Your body language, the way you speak to them, when you start getting uncomfortable, when you start getting comfortable, when you make a comment that you might think is inappropriate, but the client laughs, all of that adds to the general first impression and future impressions that you make on that person and the impressions that they'll have on you. And yes, those impressions do last. I've learned that the very, very hard way, but luckily that was almost 10 years ago, so it's long gone in the past. So then this document that you're looking at here, this looks like a lot of text on screen. I'm literally just going to gloss over most of this, use it as talking points as I go, pull things out. And
Sorry, we can't see your presentation. You haven't switched windows back.
okay,
Okay, cool.
let's change windows. Okay. And now?
Perfect. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so as you guys can see, there's a whole wall of text. You can ignore all of it because you'll receive this PDF afterwards. Um, there are some links built into this PDF when we discuss platforms a bit later on. But for the most part, what I'm going to try and share is tips and advice that you can implement on your online profiles or websites or social media profiles without spending money, even though a lot of the marketing and digital marketing that we see online today is pretty much a pay to win system where the one who can afford to spend the most money gets the most attention on social media platforms. So with that being said, though, don't worry, because as you build content and release content, and over time get more and more people to engage with your content, you're going to start getting more and more traction. As the algorithms update, the more and more your content is still being produced on a consistent basis, or the more your content gets posted on a consistent basis, the more you'll be able to just swim along with the algorithm updates. Now, one thing I have noticed about the algorithms that I often hear, the algorithms are causing my content to drop, or the algorithms are doing this or that. The algorithm feeds you what you feed it. So if you go and you watch a whole lot of cat videos, you're going to get a lot of cat content or kitten content in your feed. TikTok is amazing with that. Even though I'm not on TikTok, I have experienced what TikTok can do. Now, furthermore, now that we know about the different the salesy marketing and the brand marketing, all that stuff, how you can summarize them is that brand marketing is the kind of marketing where it makes you feel something like aspiration or motivation, or it's an advert about a person starting a business and then they put all of the emotional hooks into this 1 or 2 minute video to make you feel like you can connect with this person. And in general, it then helps you to create it helps create an awareness of the company or the person that is showing you this brand advert. And then from there, you go on and you hear more about them, and then you learn more about them. And eventually, if it happens to be something that you like, you see an ad, you're like, oh, I know this brand. So then from there, once you've reached that stage where you know them, and you go online, and then you'll start seeing their ads pop up in your Facebook feed, your Twitter feed. As you're browsing Google, it'll be an advert in your email inbox. And then from there, so then you start entering the salesy type of adverts, and then they keep hounding you with ads for 30 to 60 days after you've interacted with their website. And then eventually you get so tired of them that you just buy their product, hoping that they'll stop sending more ads to you. And then they just send more ads to you just because you bought something from them. Now, that's the general, very abstract, broad journey that the marketing models follow online nowadays. So if you go on Takealot, for example, you look up headphones. Okay, cool. You look at a few headphones, close Takealot, you don't buy anything. 2 hours later, you open up your internet, go on Facebook, browse, browse, browse. Next thing you see a Takealot ad, boop, headphones, Razer, Volcano, Red Dragon. All of that is because Takealot is now that when you interacted on their website, they placed a cookie on your system, which you can remove, by the way, just by clearing your browser cookies. And then for 30 to 60 days, that cookie will stay in your system, and they'll keep on showing you ads until that cookie expires. That's more or less how that works. So that's also another form of marketing and advertising, but that's not something you need to worry about. I just figured I'd mention that because that's the common way of doing digital marketing nowadays. Although there is a big change coming where that cookie tracking is falling away completely. And there's a whole new way that they have to remarket to you or show more ads to you. Now, everything I just explained forms part of the sales funnel, where they go the awareness stage I just explained to you, and I explained to you very briefly the stages of the consideration, or where you're researching the products of the brand, and then also where you then reach the bottom where you buy something from them. Now, I like to call these three stages the three dwarfs: tofu, mofu, and bofu, because it's the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and that's pretty much it. The top of funnel, that's the awareness, and to describe that, you can think of it like this circle. So all of these people in the outside, they hardly know about you. They're just becoming aware of you, and they might not even know anything about you, but they see an ad about you, so they're like, okay, what does this person do? That is the top of the funnel, which is basically the awareness stage. They might know about you, they might not know about you. Then once they start seeing more of your adverts, or they see more of your content, more of your blog posts, maybe a post you made about how to do a figure drawing study, or how to draw the human head from any angle, or you released a video about Procreate brushes or Clip Studio brushes, and you release your brushes for free. Then they start learning more about you because you've shared some value about what you do and who you are. And they start learning, oh, this person shared brushes. What else do they do? And then they go and look at you and more. Oh, they're an artist. Oh, they actually do professional client work as well, or they sell commissions. Then those guys move into this range. Now, one thing that I did intentionally is you notice that there's a lot of people out here, and there's only a fraction of them in the middle circle, because as the as people start to learn more about you, you can think of it like a curve. The more they learn about you, the more they drop off as well, and they go look on for other things. Because as they learn more about you, it might be that what you do aligns with their interest, and it might also be that it does not align with their interest. My personal general rule with the online content is people click and open the things they want to look at. Rarely that's an advert. When you translate that phrase over to numbers, say maybe 1 to 10 out of 1,000 people opening an advert is considered good. So if you look at Facebook, if they give you a percentage of anything from 0.5 to 1% of people clicking on your adverts and going to your website, that's considered good. Anything above 1% is great. It might change soon. It might have changed already. But that's just to give you an idea of how much and how fast people drop away from having just learned about you. But maybe later down the line, they come back and, okay, cool. Oh, I know this person. And then once they know about you a little bit more and they're ready to buy something from you, that's when they enter this bottom of funnel area, which is here where you are. This is usually when you've built a relationship with them, you've gotten to know them, they've gotten to know you. Maybe you Discord friends, or you talk a lot on Twitter or LinkedIn. Hell, maybe even your email each other quite often. And now they know exactly that you're an artist. You maybe do traditional fine art, or you do murals, or you do digital art or illustrations for educational books, or maybe game characters, whatever. They might then at this stage have a project. And because you're top of mind for them, I'm sorry, I do use a lot of corporate buzzwords without realizing it, because I do work in a corporate environment. I actually work in finance industry. So I do apologize for the amount of corporate buzzwords I use. So you're in front and center of their memory because you've been communicating with them and they've been communicating with you. Then they decide they just opened a coffee shop. They want someone to paint a wall for them. They're going to contact you because you're the most prominent memory they have of someone that's capable of doing the job they need done. Which brings me to another point, is that when you do put your marketing forward, you can see other people's problems or requirements as an opportunity for you. So that's where we then come to, you find your market, the area where you want to be in. I'm just going to open Photoshop here. I'm going to give you guys a quick, very rough illustration on how that works. But essentially, finding your market is, you don't want to be where everyone else is. It's not a good idea, because if you want to be where the masses are, you have to be willing to pool the money into what's needed to be there. And that's a couple thousands and thousands of rands, sometimes hundreds, thousands, sometimes millions, depends on. So a good way to think of it is this curve. You want to be either here or here, because that's where the niche markets are. This is mainstream. That's where Blizzard is, Netflix, because everyone else is there. If you try to compete here without the financial backing, you're going to be competing against these guys. But these guys aren't here. So if you're there, you have the chance to find a market that you can cater for, and then you can make a living eventually after a while catering for that market. This is something that I learned in my short stint while working at Yoko, when they were still trying to figure out how to get the most value out of their spend for adverts, for marketing, for finding people to talk to. And then they realized, because they cater so much to small businesses and entrepreneurs who are not turning over hundreds of thousands and millions of rands, but they cater to people who have a turnover mainly of anything from 10,000 to 150,000, maybe 200,000 rand a month. So, and they also cater for the flea markets. They cater for people who are really small. They realized their niche market is on the outskirts. So they don't need to try and compete with the mainstream market. And once they did incorporated that into their messaging, it was brilliant because they knew then how to speak to the people they want to speak to. They learned how to connect with them, and they learned by being in that area and being active in that area in a way that connects with those people, they were able to get more out of their marketing by spending less because they didn't have to worry about competing with Blizzard or Netflix. They only had to compete with other brands like Payfast, iCoca, and other payment processors in South Africa. So finding your market is quite important for your own marketing of what you would like to do. Now, with that, because I've been talking quite a while and I do dislike my own voice, I'm going to ask, do any of you have any questions at this stage?
I mean, I would like to ask, how does this sort of relay back to the artist? Could we use that as an example for how does an artist identify and then find their market, and what does it look like in an artist's situation, finding and catering to someone specific?
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. A good example, I would say, is you are, let's go, for example, you're a freelancer. Uh, you are primarily in the space of doing character art or character designs. Now, where would you use character designs? It would be games, it would be books, it would be animation films. There would be a wide range far outside of those three as well, but I'm going to use those three as examples. Now, your market in those three areas is usually studios, art directors, or startups who are looking for someone to help create the characters for their IPs, be it a game, an animation story, or a book, or a comic, or a graphic novel. So, a good suggestion I can then provide is try and find people who are in those areas that you can connect with. Maybe go on LinkedIn. Let's just open LinkedIn here and then I hope I'm still signed in. Okay, so yeah, LinkedIn, there we go. Now, just art director. There we go. And then there's jobs. We're not looking for jobs, we're looking for people. And you can go look at the results of people, see if there's anyone near you that you know or might know. Reach out to them. Once they accept your connection, you can go, okay, send them a message. Say, hi, thanks for accepting my connection. I would like to just talk more about what you do. And then start building a relationship with them. Start with a simple, hello, tell me about you. And then continuously keep nurturing that relationship that you've now started building with that person, because once you start talking to them more and more, they're going to become more inclined to talk to you as well, keeping in mind the theme of the discussion that you're trying to maintain in that space. So when you do speak to them, it's not a space for you to go, I'm struggling with XYZ personally, my car just broke down, or my dog doesn't want to stop barking. That's not the space you use that kind of conversation for. You would go, okay, after you've asked them, tell me about yourself, maybe like, I really like your work, or if you can identify certain things in their work that you like. You go, I like how you treated lighting in this project, or I like how you did the design for the weapons in that game. Would you mind telling me more about the thinking behind that? So keep the conversation about the theme that you're trying to keep in that area. And then eventually you'll realize, okay, cool. This is something I can keep on talking to. And then eventually when that art director or that studio is looking for someone and they see your name on the application list, you stand that a little bit of a better chance to get that job. So that's how it would relate to an art director in a studio. When it comes to a freelance client, your portfolio or your website or your Behance portfolio site, it will contain pieces of work that you've done. What's quite important is that when you upload your projects, upload it sort of like a project case study where you highlight what had to be done for the project, how you guys solved the requirements of the project, and then if you can get the client to later on add a little testimonial about they were happy or how happy they were with the project, then you can take that project, and when you do speak to new freelance clients, you can go and they ask you, can you show us some of your other work you've done? Then you can show them your previous work and you can talk them through it. Again, keeping it professional and clean. You're talking about work to these people. So you're hoping to land them as a client. And then from there, that relationship can keep going. Essentially, networking, but don't think of your network as just a network. Think of it as a whole group of people. And then once you think of them as humans, you realize they also have lives, they also have feelings, they also have thoughts. So when you do speak to them, you can be more empathetic towards them, and they can be more empathetic towards you. And then when you do have a discussion, it just builds on and builds on and builds on. And then that's how I would see it translating over to a freelancer or an artist that's looking to use the what I just explained about how people go from becoming aware of you to learning about you to hiring you. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Oh, that does. Sorry, my mic was turned down. If anyone else has a question, let me know. Otherwise, I do have another one. Anyone? No?
I do have a question. It's a bit very specific. Sorry, I missed a part of the lecture. I missed a part of the class, but I have a question regarding LinkedIn. And
Yes.
since we're artists and illustrators, would it be better for us to use our face or drawing as something like that for a profile pic? I know it's something small, but which one's better for our market?
I would say that's entirely up to you to decide. I personally would use my face or my picture because I would like to know when I'm introducing myself to someone online, they can see who they're talking to, so that when I meet them in person, it's not a completely different shock to their system when they meet me. Or say, for example, I used to go to events quite a bit pre-COVID, and I'm hoping to get to quite a few this year. Uh, I have my photo as my profile picture, and when I introduce myself, people will say, "Oh, I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw you on Discord. I saw you on Facebook. I saw you on Twitter. Yeah, your profile picture. That's how I know you." That actually happened recently. I went to the motion design meetup in Cape Town, and the one lady was like, "Hey, Neil." I'd never met her in person in my life, but I'm assuming she knew who I was because of my picture that I use. Um, with that being said, though, that also links to another topic we will touch on later. But a good tip I can give you is use the same pictures that you use on Discord, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Facebook, ArtStation, all over. Use the same banner designs. It doesn't have to be exactly the same because the dimensions for each platform is different. But as long as the banner designs follow the same design theme, and as long as your profile pictures are all the same, it helps a lot. But we'll touch more on that a bit later on. So that's just my take on it.
Thank you very much. I will do that now. Thank you.
I have a question, if it's all right.
Yeah, ask away.
So speaking of social media and use, I'm aware that you've got your ArtStation, your Behance, and your LinkedIn for us visual artists to interact within. And I'd just like to know, what advice would you give for, say, interacting on LinkedIn for creating connections?
Firstly, I would say find the people you want to connect with. LinkedIn is great for that. And then message them, as I said earlier, just say hello and start a conversation. That's the best advice I can give you. I do realize it is quite difficult. I struggle myself to connect with someone, especially if I look up to them, or if they did work that I love, and then I get a bit starstruck because I mean this person did something that I really admire and I want to ask them about this project, but I get all that. Uh, just remember they're also human. So reach out, give them the compliment. They will love it. You will feel a bit better because you overcame a little bit of a insecurity or a little fear that you might have had, might be a big fear, and then take it from there and see how it pans out.
Oh, sorry. A follow up to the question, a quick one.
Go for it.
Do you have any anecdotes or experiences and stories to share from doing anything like that yourself on any of the social media platforms?
Yes, I do. I do see also here Milo made a comment. It might help to comment on a post they make and then message. That is also great. It does help a lot if you don't go straight to their direct messaging and then just directly start messaging them. That comment on a post once or twice or three times, following them, that helps a lot because then they start getting a bit of a notification of who you are. So it's like, oh, you commented on my post, or oh, I did see that comment. Yes, thank you very much. So that's a good way. Thanks for that highlight, Milo. That's a very good way of getting someone to start to know you. And what happened to me is it was at CTIF in one. I think it was I can't remember the year exactly, but they had Nuke Foundry there as a main guest, and they flew one of their main artists in who's a big ambassador for them. And I love this guy's work because he always shares a lot of the visual effects work that he does, and quite in depth, especially when it comes to green screening and when it comes to rotoscoping, uh, also with advanced effects. So I saw this guy in person, and I was standing there as like, uh, "You're Hugo Guerra. I'm a fan of yours," and he just stood there like, "I have a fan in South Africa." Yeah, and there has been some of those instances. That's just one of the more funny ones. And then when I got back to my table, my fiance said to me like, "Are you stalking people again?" I'm like, "What? I'm networking." But that's how that played out.
I can also add to it as well. So I'm someone who likes to learn as much as I can, and I recently came across an artist that I'm utterly obsessed with. So I started finding them more and more again, that whole algorithm, and it seems to feed across platforms from what I can tell. Because as soon as I started liking their stuff on one platform, I found it getting suggested to me on others. I don't know, Neil, you'd probably know better how that all works, but I eventually decided to like start what do you call it, commenting as well and saying, I like your stuff, and try to get to know their characters and stuff more. And then they started a Discord community as well, which I joined then. And because I had also done those like few comments and that and had a bit of a conversation beforehand, when I started to get stuck on my own stuff, I started to ask them for advice on how they would approach art. And they ended up doing an entire like 2-hour live stream explaining their full process. And it's like, this is someone with an insane amount of followers in that. And I asked them, like, this is really unexpected. And they said, not many people actually talk to them. It's more just a like, drop a comment, or be utterly obsessive and weird. And that's about it. So it really does seem to be quite important to have that human connection with them.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely that. And yes, Jeannie, the stuff you do on one platform does go over to other platforms because your online activity is tracked to an extent. Like I mentioned earlier, with the cookies that get placed on your system. But it's just just a disclaimer quickly about this tracking. Firstly, what gets tracked is general age groups, general gender classifications, general locations, and sometimes if you have your language preferences set up, but it doesn't, your actual location of where you are right now, down to the GPS compass coordinates, does not get tracked. It's just the area that you are in. So it would be classified as maybe Cape Town area or Johannesburg area or Bloemfontein area. So that's how that location tracking works. When it comes to ages, it would be people in the age group of 35 to 40 or 40 to 45 or 60 to 65. So it's very broad age groups, and that those age groups are used in paid advertising setups when you do, excuse me, when you do targeted uh, remarketing adverts, which is the Take a Lot advert I mentioned earlier about the headset thing. So there's nothing to worry about when your online traffic gets tracked, because absolutely none of your personal information gets recorded or tracked. Just thought I'd say that because I recently was in a conversation with someone where they got very, very paranoid. I was like, hold up, you don't have to worry. Okay, let's see a question in the chat. Kinetical, if anyone, what are some good ways to ask questions to others on LinkedIn and such to help build that relationship? I was curious about the other artists, but I tend to struggle how to word my questions. That's a global struggle. I can promise you I struggle with that as well. Try and keep your questions constructive, is that first advice I would give you. Instead of asking, how did you paint this? Isolate selective things that you like about the work they've done that stand out to you and ask them about that in particular. So say, for example, a traditional fine artist you like does hyper-realistic oil paintings, and you love how they did the condensation on the fruit they painted. Maybe they painted a painting of grapes that were standing out in the sun, and the grapes were super cold, so of course they formed condensation, and you love how realistically that condensation was painted. You can message in the chats, in the comment section, like, I really love this painting. I love how realistic these fruit look. It feels like I can just take them off the canvas. I want to know what's your favorite part about this painting? And then you can maybe ask, how did you go about thinking about getting the condensation to look so realistic? So instead of asking them, how did you do it? Ask them about something during the process that might be of interest to you, like what was their mindset while painting the condensation droplets, or how did they have their lighting set up for the droplets? Because for hyperrealism, you do need a hyperrealistic reference, meaning you need the actual thing right next to you, either in photo format, which you hopefully photographed yourself, because there's I learned this the hard way as well. Figure drawing in person is a lot. It gives you a lot of information and a lot more than figure drawing from a photo, even though you can draw from both. And my art teacher is probably going to have a comment or two about that when I tell him this tomorrow. That's how I would say approaching questions with someone. Isolate things that you like and ask about those things, but try and avoid the teach me senpai type of behavior, because some are okay with it, but others might be, oh dear, how do I get out of the situation? That's my advice on that one. Jeani, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's a really good point. Being specific is always good. It is hard to form a constructive question, so yeah, that is probably the best advice, is just be specific. To ask a question, you need to know what it is you're enjoying about something. Yeah, by the way, little quick caveat, and this is me advertising for Monday's artist studies. This is one of the things we discuss when we're learning about different artists, is figuring out what we like about an image. Anyway, let's move on.
Cool. And then there's another question. How do you manage different social media art platforms when looking for opportunities and staying active? Often respond late to messages and miss opportunities. Is the app you can use to funnel all your messages? For Twitter, I think there's TweetDeck, and for Facebook, there's the Meta Business Suite, which then gives you Instagram and Facebook comments and messages in one feed, but I'm not sure about other platforms. We will briefly touch on this a bit later in the discussion as well, if we do still have time. But moving on to the next topic is test everything. And then I'm going to minimize this because that's a whole lot of text that we're now going to talk about anyway, so I'm not going to bore you with reading it. This is the interesting part where digital marketing content comes in. You're going to post different kinds of things online. You're going to post work in progresses if you're brave enough to do that. Some artists prefer to post only finished pieces of work. Some prefer behind the scenes pieces of work. Some prefer to post all three of those kinds of content. Not all of them will give you the same amount of interaction in return. I've learned that behind the scenes content and work in progress content tends to give me a lot more interaction than finished pieces of content. 90% of my content I also post on Discord servers. So I'm not very active. I'm not as active on platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter and ArtStation. In fact, I actually closed my ArtStation account recently because I wasn't using it at all. So work in progress and discussions while doing that work in progress gives me a lot more interaction. And I've found that sometimes a few artists who have a relationship with me, that they're willing to tell me what's wrong with my pieces as I'm going. I appreciate that quite a bit. So I would say try and avoid being on too many platforms. I think I just went on a tangent. Possibly. Well, oh yes, test everything. So yeah. So if a post doesn't give you the amount of engagement return that you were wanting, like the likes, views, comments, shares, or reposts or saves, it's nothing on you as an artist or your work. It could just be that your post got lost in all of the noise that's on social media platforms. It could just be that what you posted didn't connect as much with the larger audience that might be following you online, and it might only have connected with a smaller audience. That's fine. Just keep on putting content out, keep on carrying on with what you're doing on, as they say in Death Stranding, keep on keeping on, because eventually the posts will start to build traffic and traction, and it will just keep on getting people to see more of your stuff, and eventually you'll see over time that your posts create more interaction for you. So test everything. See if you post.
Sorry, no. Just one thing I'd like to ask, leading off of this, is, so especially as artists, media platforms take a long time to build. Is there a way to test if a platform will work for you without investing a ton of time? Like my Instagram took like 4 or 5 years to actually start picking up anything properly, but that's also because I don't know how to post. But is there a way to test stuff without having to spend forever on it?
Not that I know of. I've gone, for the most part, I've gone and made profiles on numerous platforms, and then I would be active there for about 2, maybe 3 months. And if I don't see it pick up after 3 months, even in the slightest, then I stop being active on that platform, which is why I'm still active on a few Discord servers, because within 3 months, there's been a lot more interaction than I've seen on platforms like Instagram. But that's just big for me, and that's just because of how stuff I do works. I mean, the digital artist stuff I do is more of a hobby, because my full-time day job is 2D motion design in a business to business environment. So I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I don't have a lot of energy for it, but I would say give it 3 to 6 months, but don't overspend yourself. I found that posting 2 times a week is usually more than enough to get traction to build, and then also using hashtags that's relevant to the post you're making. If you have friends on those platforms that you're on, you can ask them, hey, I'm trying out to build my platform. Would you mind for a little bit of time, please resharing my work, and I'll reshare some of your posts. That also helps speed up the process. But the general idea that I've found is just getting that engagement on your content gets the algorithm to pick up that there's some activity there. It must give it some more attention, and then it gives it more attention, and then it just slowly but surely starts building up more and more and more. That's all I would think about or how to test the platform. Give it 3 months max in the beginning, and then from there decide if it's worth your time. If it's not, it's okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Is that the answer you were hoping for?
Yeah, no, that does help. Thank you.
Yeah. So we discussed this already. Content structure, search engine optimization. Oh, now we're getting to a fun part. So this is something we were discussing earlier, SEO, but it wasn't just discussed like this. It was more like keywords, hashtags, and stuff. So how I would describe SEO is when someone searches for a term on Google, like digital artist, or how I've seen younger people aged 25 and younger use Google, they would go, I need someone who can paint my Instagram profile picture for me. Google loves when you search like that, by the way. Or I need someone to repair my computer. Then Google will go, okay, you need someone to repair your computer. Here's your computer shops. Here's this, here's that. They love when you search using a sentence instead of just digital artist for hire, or photographer, or painter. Because then Google's a bit confused. But if you search using a sentence like that, it makes it quite easy. So SEO then comes in, say after 4 to 6 months, because that's how long you can expect things to take for things to actually start taking off when you don't spend money on the platforms. Someone searches digital artist near me, or I need someone to paint my book covers, or I need someone to design my character for my next graphic novel, then your profiles will start ranking in those search results. If I can if I can demonstrate this quickly, let's go digital artists who specialize in character design. Yeah, let's just fix my bad spelling. So artist of the week, character design references. So these are all blog posts that will pop up from other platforms. And then as you'll see, it'll be like, say, for example, this print mag. Here they're talking about digital artists that they recommend you follow, and then they show you some of their work. So this is the kind of stuff that a good SEO that good SEO will give you, is that over time you will become an artist that these journalists have seen, and then they'll feature you on their articles. Another way for SEO to help you, and this is sort of like networking, but also just in general, making sure that people know about who you are online as well as offline. On Pixelsmithstudios, we recently it wasn't recently, it was last year. We wanted to feature female artists, and Milo in this chat actually reached out to me, or I reached out to her. I can't remember exactly. And she gave me female artists who she's connected with, who we could include in this blog post, who we then featured. So then what happens is, because that artist is featured in that blog post, if they have a social media platform or their own website, they are getting recommended on a platform that already has a good rating or ranking on Google. So Google will go, okay, Pixelsmithstudios recommended Milo Wildcat for book illustrations. Let's make sure that when these terms link up in the search results, let's put Milo Wildcat's profile forward in the search results because there is a link between a reputable website and this artist. Then you can take that a step further, where if you have your own website and you have your portfolio, and on your portfolio there's maybe a blog section, and in one of your latest projects, you maybe worked with virtual reality or augmented reality, and then you have the project listing and you have all the credits of the people you worked with. So your website has links to all of the other artists who worked on that project with you. So all of that links back to each other, and it tells Google, okay, wait, this is a legitimate web page with legitimate, authentic, real content. This is all right to put forward in our search results. Then you go take it another step further and you write a blog post about AR or VR, and then you link back to your project on your website. So you have the project linking to the blog post then after that, and then those two pages speak to each other, and that furthermore goes and tells Google, this is real content. There's actual people who wrote it. There's actual people who really spent the time to do what they say they did. We can recommend this link for future searches. So when someone goes and searches for artists who work with VR and AR, your profile will start ranking in those search results. So that's essentially SEO in a nutshell. And it becomes quite interesting when you get very, very involved in it. And Jeannie, I was smoking my socks yesterday when I was telling you about the rankings, people fighting for rankings. That is in a paid environment only, and that is only when you have Google advertising happening, not with
You
this.
did mention that it was in the paid space.
Yeah.
I did want to ask, in terms of SEO, is just the artist maybe who hasn't had a chance yet to work with a reputable business, is there a way to use hashtags to influence SEO for your benefit?
Yes. Hashtags can be used as search terms. So if I were to demonstrate this one quickly, let me just close LinkedIn. I think we're getting a bit tired of seeing a LinkedIn search result that says art director. So let's go here, digital art. So then there's a whole lot of digital art links that will come up. But if you go into these links, you'll find all of these web pages have digital art. Oh, sorry, no spaces. So digital art on Twitter. There we go. Just let's see. Digital art, all of these guys. Hey, there's Ben Houtness. Digital artists. So there you can see the hashtag is popping up in the search results. There you go, digital art hashtags popping up in the search result. Sam Yang, very well-known artist. Also, the one trick I have seen with Twitter is try and limit it to 2 hashtags. Otherwise, their engine picks up your posts as spam. I see here Ben Geldnys is getting away with using more than 2 hashtags. That's perfectly okay. It's just in my experience, I've seen two hashtags is usually enough. There you can see again digital art. Let's go hashtag character design. 44 tweets in the last hour. Top results. So you can use hashtags to search on platforms like Twitter. I'm pretty sure on LinkedIn you can do it as well. Let's just open the feed. Let's go here. Let's search digital. There you go. You can use search results. You can use hashtags to search digital artwork. Let's open it up. Let's see what we get. There we go. Then when you open the post, you'll see in the hashtags there's digital Z woman, digital art, motion design, and then there's the content they're referring to. So you can use hashtags to help your content rank on search engines. Another trick I was told this afternoon, because I actually phoned Ruan, one of the co-owners of Pixelsmithstudios, just to sense check this with them. If you are what you have to your advantage right now is if you're a small business. Let's take, for example, Jeani. Let's go to your so
Oh,
it would be
God.
easy for you to rank for Jeani Varty because there aren't a lot of other people. In fact, there might not even be a lot of people at all using this, your name, which is essentially also a version of your brand, as a search term. So it's easier for you to rank for what Ruan called it a brand keyword. But if you were to try and rank for animator, it would be difficult because you're competing with a global market of animators who use the keyword animator. Same for director. But your brand, Jeani Varty, that's easier for you to rank because Google also has a thing where they localize the search results. So if you're in Johannesburg or Cape Town or Bloemfontein, and then your brand keyword will rank higher in the area where you are in than outside of that area. So say, for example, let's go to my profile. Boom, boom. I rank for Neil Strydom. I'll rank more in Cape Town than I rank in Johannesburg or Bloemfontein or Port Elizabeth. Now, before I carry on, is there any questions about that? Because I was actually a bit confused trying to understand that, and I had to explain it back to Ruan to ask him if I'm getting it correct. And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is more or less how it works. So do any of you have questions about that?
So I don't have a question. Am I okay, no, I'm here and I'm talking. I don't have a question, but just to add to that, I consulted with someone last year as well, and especially for these hashtags and the personal branding, something he recommended, and this is more for easier online, just across platforms, is he recommended you come up with a hashtag that is unique to you, that can be used across multiple platforms. So mine for Instagram would be SA_digital arts community, because we were the first one to use that hashtag. And anything I post to do with SADAC will then get that hashtag regardless of the platform I'm on. So if someone looks for a digital art community in South Africa, then that'll pop up. The person I was speaking to created a phrase, a really dumb phrase that he could bring up in conversation, and that was his hashtag. And the phrase was mosquito hands. Not mosquito hands, sorry, mosquito claps. And it was a joke that he had made about, being super excited as you slap your knees as hard as you would hit a mosquito. So anything he made or curated went across platforms with that hashtag as well. And it also just made people able to find everything about him very easy just by using that phrase.
Yeah, that is actually brilliant. Mosquito claps. I would never think of using that. So kudos to him for getting something original. If you do want to get into the heavy technical side of SEO, the links on here that I have these for, Moz, I know of their training academy. I did part of it way back. But these 4 links are very good for SEO training, and it's all free. So Ahrefs, HubSpot, Moz, and SEMrush, they're the material they've put out to teach people about SEO. You can access it completely free. I think the cost is your email address. Moz also gives you free tools that gets highly technical. I wouldn't go for all of the stuff unless I know what it does. But see here, SEO Beginner's Guide to SEO at the bottom of the page, free SEO education. So there's 2 links already on the Moz website where you can learn about SEO at no cost. Maybe a cost of time and a little bit of your sanity, if you have any. If you're like me and you have no sanity, you're good to go. So what I just said about SEO comes to the next part is building online authority with your content. We already discussed hashtags and tags. When it comes to descriptions and meta descriptions, I get confused between the two a lot, so I don't give it much mind. But I do give descriptions and links quite a bit of mind. So when I do my descriptions, I try and include words that I want that post to be associated with. So if I post a piece I'd worked on for a client, maybe a good example would be I worked on a launch video for a payment platform in Kenya not that long ago. So I made sure that I included in my description keywords like payment platform, launch, Kenya, market, uh, and then also from there going a little bit more salesy, including words like in long form, they wanted their client base to seamlessly transact with their phones. So stuff like that, thinking about how you word your descriptions helps a lot because those words get recorded in the eventually in the down the line, but also it helps later down after the fact for when someone reads what you wrote and they can decide, "Oh, okay, cool. So the way this person wrote this, they sound very knowledgeable on their craft. I could use them. I could hire them because they gave a good full full explanation of what they did, what they tried to accomplish, how they got there, and then the end result." That's a piece of advice I got from a podcast called The Crazy One by Stephen Gates. I do realize this is a plug, but you guys will thank me later. I am not being paid to do this plug, but this is one of the best creative and design podcasts I've listened to. If you can listen to this podcast a little bit, then okay, it's got 127 episodes out already, but start from episode 1 and as and when you feel listening to it, give it a go. This whole podcast channel helped a lot around my thinking of creativity and how I present my work to potential future employers. Um, so yeah, we just discussed this whole SEO part. I'm going to skip this over, make use of tags and hashtags. We just did that. I'm going to skip it over. Now comes the next part, provide context. And we touched on this just a bit ago about linking things on pages and having your page link out to another page. What it essentially boils down to is, let's take, for example, Pixelsmithstudios. We're an online marketplace, but we work primarily with animators, illustrators, 3D artists, VFX artists, and so on. So the content we speak about on the platform when we do blog posts or interviews, or like this discussion now that we're recording, it relates to the things that we talk about. So it provides context to Google, and Google will say, okay, cool. So this platform deals with helping creatives. They are interviewing artists on a not so regular basis. They are talking about products used by animators. They are talking about products used by VFX artists. Cool. We have context. We can rank them because it's actual real content. It's not purchased from someone in another country and then just copy pasted onto the website. So that's where the context part comes in. So context is important. And I need to say that to myself quite a bit, especially when I start conversations, because often I'll start a conversation and then I'll be mid-sentence and the person I'm talking to will go, "What are you talking about?" So anyway, context is important. Now, here we get to the next part. I'm not going to go down this list. When you do get this PDF, you can look at these profiles yourself, but I will mention that Lottie Files is an animator-specific profile. That is for animations that you produced in After Effects, which you can export to code to use on a website. So that is a highly specialized portfolio platform. I put them there because I use them every day. So portfolio platforms, here's a list. Use the ones you want to use, go test them. Don't use the ones you don't want to use because you don't agree with them. It's all okay. There's a whole lot of platforms. Pick your flavor. No one's going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Open closed community platforms, so that's stuff like your Discord, Coffee, Patreon. Gilded is more geared for gamers, but it still provides a similar environment to Discord, although we're now here on Discord. So again, pick your flavor. Now, the information feed type of engagement platforms, these ones are a bit more important to think about. One of my more favorite ones here, which I will mention, is Mastodon. You need to get invited to them. But what's nice is they're like a mix between Twitter and Instagram to a small extent. If you guys want, I'll post an invite link and you can try and I'll go find the invite link here somewhere. I'm still getting used to this platform, but I do like this platform quite a bit because my feed is filled with the stuff that I want to see more than what Twitter will tell me what it wants me to see. So that's why I like Mastodon more. And then the rest we have here, the normal ones: Facebook, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Twitter. So video and streaming, we all know these three big boys. Marketplace platforms. These ones require some elbow grease. This is where these ones you gotta knuckle down and get busy, because you need to actually create products to upload, and then you need to promote those products on the other platforms. So say, for example, you upload products to Gumroad, like Rachel Bradley does for her art references. There we go. So what she'll do is she'll post all of these, and then she'll go Mastodon, boom, post about it. Twitter, boom, post about it. Send out an email, and then people will go and buy the pack from her. Or, for example, you make prints or stickers of your work. You put it on Etsy. Cube Brush, you can sell paint brushes and stuff like that. And then what I didn't include here is Pixelsmithstudios. Fun times. We're also a marketplace. You can create a profile and sell illustrations and brushes and fonts, as far as I know. So, but it does take elbow grease because you need to promote these platforms on these platforms. So you go make a post on one of these guys, maybe t-shirts or so. Then you go to LinkedIn or Facebook, make a post that you just uploaded a new product on your online store. For you guys as artists, this would be quite where one of the things I mentioned way back up with the awareness comes in. So when you upload the product and you go and post on social media, you're trying to reach these people. Then a few people might comment, or they might ask what colors are available, what sizes are available. So you would need to know then what the platform you're using provides. And then when you start engaging with them and you start telling them about the product, they'll enter this sphere. And then eventually one or two people might buy a t-shirt, or they might buy a branding pack from you, or a Discord emoticon pack, or a Twitch overlay pack. So essentially, how this all ties in with one of these. And what you could even do further is, while you are making the packs, if the client allows it, or if you're doing personal work for yourself, live stream it, then upload the pack you're going to sell, and then promote it on here. And you can say something like, we did this live. Here's the video of how it was produced. If you like it, leave a like. If you really like it, maybe buy it. So you can get quite witty, tongue-in-cheek with how you put your products out there. I still need to find a set-in-stone law or rule book that says how you are allowed to say something, how you're not allowed to say something. Some brands go really far out there and abstract, and they do an amazing job at promoting stuff with the way they say things, and it upsets some people and it makes others laugh. And then you have brands who are very conservative, especially like your financial brands, because they're in a financial industry. The market they cater for is not so outspoken. So you really need to test how you say things and stuff online to find out what works for you. Then coming back to the question asked way back, tools for responding to messages, TweetDeck, Meta Business Suite. But what you can also do to schedule posts, you can use Sprout, Hootsuite, or Buffer. And for Instagram, you can use Later. But okay, let's log in with Facebook. Never mind. Let's try Twitter's one, TweetDeck. So TweetDeck is cool because there we can see where you get mentioned, some feeds, the home feed, notifications. So TweetDeck is nice for if Twitter is your main social media feed. What I would say when it comes to choosing your platforms, don't be all over the place because you're going to be spread very thinly. So choose 2, maximum 3 or 4 platforms that you want to be on. And before I continue to the last parts, which I'm really just going to speed through, anyone have any questions?
Just your
Oh.
thoughts,
Mhm.
if I may. So, this other consultant I'd spoken to last year, so he had slightly different advice, which I thought could be an interesting take, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. So his opinion was, again, you're trying to create a personal brand online when you're interacting with what is potentially future customers. And you might not know what platform is going to work better at what time. You know, there was a time where Tumblr died out and now it's coming back. There was a time where Twitter went quiet for a bit. Actually, no, that's a lie. Twitter's never quiet. But there's like ebbs and flows and lulls, whatever. So what his advice was is to create a profile for every single platform. And it's not so that you are active on all of those, but rather so that you own the name first. If you can get onto something early and be the first person to have like an SA, a SADAC account across platforms, so it's uniform. Even if you don't use it for now, if you find that later at a point you might want to migrate there, that you already have that first name. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree 100% with that because I'm active on 3 platforms at most. Discord being the main platform of my activity, and there's 2 or 3 servers that I check in on. And then I see here Pro in Motion mentioning 20 different platforms. Bait, I will get to your question just now. I am on more or less 20 to 30 odd platforms, but I'm only active on 2 or 3. But those other platforms, those 17 odd or 27 odd platforms, they have my name and I own my username there. No one else can go and claim Neil_Strydom or Neil Strydom or something like that. That your question actually links into the next part that I'm going to chat about is the branding part and the linking the profiles part. So if it's okay with you, I will expand on why I agree with this guy in the next section. Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I just want to quickly get to these questions here. Bait, so it's better to use lesser known keywords. So how do you get exposure with keywords that are too niche? Would it be better to use hashtags that suit what you're doing for the subject matters? For example, if I make digital art piece with an OC in a swamp, would OC be better than digital art, or would swamp monster be best? I would use all 3 of those hashtags, Bait, and then maybe a 4th one that links, that Jeani was saying earlier, a very unique hashtag that can link back to you. So that one hashtag that's very unique to you. Again, Jeani, thank you for mentioning that. That actually, I forgot about that tip. And then Pro in Motion, do you suggest we look into selling material things that link with your brand or art? If so, how would you suggest going about the merchandise? You're on 20 different platforms. Okay. It's fine if you're on 20 different platforms. I would say, but again, choose the ones that are most important to you or that give you the most interactions. if you're going to do actual material things, you can go to Comic Cons, you can go to small markets, you can go to flea markets, set up prints if you sell prints, sell stickers, sell your graphic novel if you can get it printed. So the material things would depend on what material things you want to sell and where you want to sell them. You could maybe sell mugs with stuff on, or I've seen someone do bedding with their paintings on. I've seen someone do curtains. I've seen people do coasters. I've seen people do pillows, backpacks, all of those things. Find markets you want to go sell at and make products that relate to that market that you want to sell at. So yeah, that's how I would say if you want to do material things, just find markets where you can sell it and create the products that are good sellers for those markets. Yes, definitely what Jeani also says here. Also ask your community. Polls are fun and they are a good way to generate engagement on your content. Now the next part, branding. Phrase I will stand on this hill and I will die on this hill, but your logo is not your brand. Your brand consists of a whole collective of things. Your logo is one component of your brand, even though it's one of the most expensive things to have made for your brand. I was recently part of a rebranding experience where the logo design alone was 60,000 Rand. That excluded the corporate identity, the brand style guide, and the website redesigns and all that stuff. I think I don't even want to know what the overall cost came up to, but I do know that the logo itself was around 60,000 Rand, more or less. Now, coming back to Jeannie's question. Sorry, Jeannie, will you please remind me what your question was, where I said I will answer it in the next part?
My brain doesn't hold on to information that long. I'm sorry.
Neither does mine.
We'll go back to the recording, and if you remember, let me know.
Okay. So when it comes to names online, I'm just gonna go to my card because it's easier. Branding online. I use a variation of my name and surname everywhere I go. So I think that was what you were referring to, having the name on the different platforms for yourself, that you own them. Yes, that was it. That you own the platform. So if I go here, that's my website. No, let's save. Okay, publish changes. Not that I changed anything. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So Neil Stradon, cool. Let's go to my website. Neil, it's there. So my brand. Okay. And I'm also saying digital content producer. So I'm trying to rank for Neil, content, and motion graphics. All of that top of page. Let's go next. Behance. I'm just going to do one more after this, but then so you can see Neil Stradom. Let's go Mastodon, Twitter. It's fine. Let's do LinkedIn. I'm just going to show you guys here. Okay, Neil Stradom, Stradom, Neil Stradom, Neil Stradom. So everywhere it's one name or variations of that one name. In order to rank for my name on platforms, but to also own that username or handle or tag on those platforms, even if I'm not on that platform, I still own that space. The logo design was worth the cost. It was very much worth the cost. So that's where then also profile pictures that we spoke about in the very, very beginning, where you use the same picture across the platforms. If you want to use a illustration of your work, that's fine. If you want to use a photo of yourself, that is fine. All your banners, make sure they follow the same consistent design theme, because it will all accumulate, and everywhere when people then go, okay, I've looked at your profile on Facebook, but now I go to Twitter, I'm looking for you, then they can link your Twitter to your Facebook. They see it's the same imagery. Okay, cool. They know that this Twitter profile is the same person's profile as Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram. So that's why you want to keep a consistent branding across your platforms. If you guys do want to talk about branding, I see Milo Wildcat has dropped off, but I learned a lot of what I know from her when it comes to the visual side of branding. That's just a little bit of a compliment there. And then marketing exercises. This one I'm not going to go into. As you guys can see, this is an essay, but you can read through this every now, just as a reminder of things you can do. But the biggest things I would recommend: polls. Get friends to ask them, like, hey, can we do a sharing exercise where I'll share your content if you share mine, and when you share, please ping me so that I can go and share your content. Because Twitter has been set up where if you don't pay for Twitter verification, then your content does get pushed down the list. Something I've seen some digital artists do on Twitter is they create an art list. When they post an image on Twitter, they have people who they tag in
Hi, my
a
name's
second
Gordon.
reply to that post, but every single one in that art list has consented and agreed to be on that art list. How nice. I need to go check that out. I don't have an HTML signature.
I've
Every
just found them, but they're very, very handy. So just to lead on to that point, please carry on.
Yes, no, HTML signatures help. I'm quickly going to touch on that because it's an important thing. HTML signatures are cool because email signatures help your emails to be authentic, and it helps prevent people from phishing with your details. Phishing is quite prominent online. I get a lot of emails where people want me to click on a link, and then I check the email name, it would say a friend's name, and then when I check the address doesn't link up with the name, and then there's also no signature. So signatures help a lot. If you can get an email signature for yourself, do it. All right, back to the exercises. So then the person who links other artists in a post as a comment on an art piece they posted, each and every single one of those artists agree to be in that list, but they also accept a responsibility to retweet, to either like or to repost. You don't have to do everything like comment, like, and share. You can just like the post, or you can just comment on the post, or you can just share the post, or you can do all three. It's perfectly okay. But those art lists, it starts creating like an online mini community. So if you're on an artist's art list and you then engage with their content, you're giving them engagement, which then tells the algorithm this person's profile is real, their content is real. Let's give it some more real estate. Okay, pun not intended. I just see Cal Odin posted a meme. It's free real estate. Yes, it is exactly that. When you have those mini communities with artists, it's free real estate because it doesn't cost you anything to like, comment, or share, or do all three. Maybe just some time, and then you guys can do stuff like that. That is one of the bigger things I've seen doing quite well on Twitter. Polls, going to events, conventions, conferences, live meetups, like the Motion Design SA meetup that was a week or two ago. This Discord event hosted by the SADAC guys. Ask questions, engage. Another marketing exercise, like we were talking earlier, comment on people's posts who you like the work of, and then eventually down the line, once you feel a little bit more comfortable with, they might know who you are, send them a message and say, I really like your work, and then start building relationships that way. Uh, so those are some big marketing exercises I would recommend. Let me just open this. There were one or two. Yes, this one. It doesn't have to invite a fellow artist for coffee and chat about art, life, and everything in between. When it says life and everything in between, keep it strictly professional. We don't need to know where you were last night and why you woke up this morning with a hangover. But go for coffee. It doesn't have to be an actual in-person coffee, but if you're having a call with someone, you can have a cup of coffee at hand. Yoko did this internally where they called it coffee buddy things. I've got a recent company I worked at, they did it, where you just basically sit at your desk, have a call, you have a cup of coffee nearby, and you talk to the people. So yeah, those are the exercises that I would recommend. And then last, networking, we did touch on throughout this whole presentation, so I'm going to skip over that slide altogether. Communication, we touched throughout this whole presentation, so I'm going to skip over that like it's a hot potato. Self-care, this one I do want to mention. Get enough sleep. Enough sleep is important. I'm not going to stress why. I'm sure all of you have heard that enough. But if you're not around to do your marketing and put yourself forward, no one else is going to do it for you. So do your best to take care of yourself as best as you can. There's a lot of resources and stuff online for that. You can go look up just a Google search how to take better care of myself, and you'll have a ton of links. So I'm not going to go further onto self-care because I'm also not a registered medical practitioner, and anything I say can only be taken at a pinch of salt value. And that concludes my monologue. Any questions?
Guys,
Cricket.
the floor is yours.
Right, no worky.
Yeah, sorry, I need a minute to think.
The voice has arrived.
Yes, it has indeed. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So it doesn't have to be a question. You guys can tell me if there's anything you don't agree with, or if there's something you would like to do differently, or if you would like to know if I take this advice and I apply it in a different way. Stuff like that. We can create hypothetical scenarios. We can talk about why instant coffee is not actual coffee. I mean, I'm having instant coffee now and it tastes like plastic.
Just drink tea.
It's 'cause
Sorry?
instant coffee
Yeah,
is mostly
excellent.
chicory.
Yes.
Just go for tea.
Drink
It's
water.
basically a problem away.
I finished 3 bottles of water throughout this whole presentation, so afterwards I'm going to be very good friends with the bathroom.
So I was just gonna say, in terms of communities, I'm gonna be trying to plug a lot more physical events for you guys. Please do use these opportunities if you are in the area nearby, especially things like the Joburg Urban Sketches. I'm just going to start plugging people. So the Joburg Urban Sketches, this is a group of retired artists and working artists, mainly working in, traditional arts, and they gather once a month to go and sketch at different locations. This is like called urban art. As far as animators are concerned, what they're doing is environment design and layout. But what's really great is this a different kind of artist you can engage with and learn a lot about traditional paints. I went to one event, Kayla joined me as well, and we sat for 4 hours just painting and drawing, and they gave me so much advice. And it was great because then they invited me to additional communities that I can now check in and chat to regularly. So do keep your eye out. I will be posting stuff for them. Another thing that you can keep your eye out for, go and find them on Instagram, is the Loba Movement. And this was started by a group of interns where I worked, and basically they're going to be coming back this year. They're now a registered company, and they host in-person live drawing sessions with music, with wine. We'll see what their budget is, but it is really, really a good time. There's sketch wars, there's art, there's industry chats, and they may be around quite soon. So do keep your eye out for them. Go find them on Instagram so long. And then another one is the animation exchanges. So there's one in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. I'm not sure about Durban, but you can again find them on Facebook, and these are great places again to do that kind of networking. And it really is about making those friendships and relationships. I was so surprised just this weekend. I went away to work with a client, and I come to find, working with this new client, that they knew so many of my mutuals. And because of that, it was a lot easier to talk to them, and I got to meet like 7 new artists this weekend that, because we were friends with mutuals, they've got an idea of the kind of people I hang out with, and conversation was just a lot easier. So yeah, really do take advantage of the in-person events. They're fun. There's a lot going on. Stay tuned.
And then one last thing I think I should say about, especially because we're all artists in some way, shape, or form, having a hobby that allows you to explore your creativity in a different medium will help a lot. For me, especially because I have fine art lessons on Saturday mornings, it helps me to stay sane because of the work I do during the week, being so super corporate and highly structured with very little wiggle room for changing things around. So I do fine art lessons on Saturday mornings to help keep my creativity afloat and to stay sane. And it helps having a hobby or having a creative exercise that is in a different medium to the one that you produce your income on. Because if you're just going to produce art and on the same medium that you do your income on, you're going to get bored eventually. And then I don't know if this is going to be the same for everyone else, but eventually, what happened with me is like I started getting like, why am I doing this? So then I picked up the hobby of fine art, and now my creativity is feeling a bit better because there's another creative vent. So definitely try and explore your medium avenues and then join the workshops and the meetups and all that stuff that Jeani just mentioned now as well. Sketch, drink and draws are amazing as well. If you want to go and sit around a table with artists and just chat, sketch wars, commission trades, art contests, Inktober, all those things are amazing.